Welcome back to Tipping Point. I'm your host, Kara McKinney. If you don't know who YouTubers Shane Dawson and Rylan Adams are, count yourself lucky. Millions of teenagers and young adults are not able to say the same because they were basically raised on watching their videos from childhood. Dawson is no stranger to controversy. He was outed a few years back for appearing to groom young fans online, mimicking getting off to pictures of underage girls, joking about Googling naked babies for sexual pleasure, and of course, his scandal involving sex acts with a cat, something to which he maintains to this day was a poor attempt at a joke and didn't really happen. But many viewers aren't too sure. Well, guess what? Shane Dawson is now a father. Not because he got some poor woman to marry him, but because he and his gay partner from BuzzFeed paid to exploit female bodies into giving them children. They bought babies. The pair recently announced the birth of their twins by surrogate earlier this month, naming the boys Jet and Max. The boys shared the same egg donor mother, were then both carried by a separate woman who is a surrogate, but each have a different father. One is the biological son of Shane, and the other is the biological son of Ryland. And of course, Rylan felt obligated to post the picture that all surrogate gay dads seem to do, which is to lie in a hospital bed, acting wiped out and exhausted as if they had just given birth. This write-up by Ellie Gardy at the American Spectator gets into some of the horrific nitty-gritty details, so a trigger warning on sexual content in case you have kids in the room. She writes, quote, "To attain the sperm to create the children, Dawson and Adams each masturbated alone in a clinical room that offered them pornographic magazines and videos, as well as a chair covered in plastic. As part of the process, an additional 10 embryos were created and subsequently cast aside and possibly killed in favor of the implantation of Jet and Max, who were described as optimal embryos. Further, Dawson and Adams presumably paid well over $100,000 to create these children, a circumstance that treats Jet, Max, and the 10 other children as paid-for products in the two's highfalutin lifestyle. In one YouTube video, the pair discusses their decision to implant Jet and Max and not one of the other 10 children into their surrogate. Adams related that Dawson told a fertility clinic representative over the phone, "I guess we'll just do a boy of each." Dawson then explained that choice to the camera. "It just makes sense," he said, because number one, they're not going to be identical because there's two different dads, but wow, drama, two different baby daddies. The two explained that they had simply texted their surrogate to ask if she was okay with carrying twins, end quote. What an insane time to be alive, and now states that had protections against this type of exploitation on the books are now busy tearing it all down, as we see happening in Michigan. Our next guest tonight writes about this for World News Group. Emma Waters, the author of that piece, is a research associate for the Heritage Foundation, and she joins us now. Emma, thanks for being here tonight.
Hi, Kara. Thanks for having me on.
Great. So talk to us about what's happening in Michigan. What did their House of Representatives just pass?
So their House of Representatives in November passed a comprehensive assisted reproductive technology and surrogacy bill that would effectively legalize all forms of assisted reproductive technology, including in vitro fertilization, and then of course legalize commercial surrogacy. Now it's worth noting that altruistic surrogacy, or surrogacy without pay, was already legal in Michigan. But what the state now does, or what the House has now passed, it's going to the Senate in January, they've now allowed surrogacy for pay for effectively anyone. There are no requirements that the intended parents be biologically related to the child, and there are no background checks that the parents have to go through. So like in the case that we just talked about, effectively anyone could create a child under the Michigan law if it was to pass.
You know, and it really is so sad. I think it may have been Mary Harrington or someone else in that world that I was reading who brought up when I was younger, there was that, probably also I think we're the same age. So it was when we were kids, right? All the celebrities, what did they do? It was the international adoption. That was the big thing, right? And I think it was Mary Harrington who was making this point. International adoption, all the big celebrities did that. But then you see in recent years, right, Madonna's gotten in trouble because now the biological parents of some of the kids that she adopted out of Malawi, for example, now say that they think that there was some shady, nefarious activity. And what ended up happening is when money was introduced, you get a lot of nasty people who exploit a lot of poor people around the world, and then basically when you're buying and selling children, it's a gross business. And so you don't hear about the international adoption nearly as much in the celebrity world, but what you hear instead is IVF, right, with surrogates and the rest. And there seems to be a similar dynamic where no one asks, well, who are these egg donors?